Hello everyone, welcome back to Labor Standards and Social Legislation. So ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon is about limitations in the enactment of labor laws. So kung napanood nyo yung previous video ko, ang pinag-usapan natin doon are the basis for the enactment of labor laws. Kung ano yung basihan ng Congress or ng state para mag-enact ng labor laws. Pero dito, in enacting labor laws, ano yung mga limitations? Ito yung mga pag-uusapan natin. So there are 5 constitutional limitations. Number 1 is Equal Protection Clause. Number 2 is Due Process Clause. Number 3 is Prohibition against Involuntary Servitude. 4th, Non-Impairment Clause. 5th, Requirement of Publication. So Equal Protection Clause. So what is this Equal Protection Clause? Under the Constitution, Equal Protection Clause means that all persons or things similarly situated must be treated alike, both in the privileges conferred and the obligations imposed. Conversely, all persons or things differently situated should be treated differently. So, anong ibig sabihin nito? Kung ikaw, for example, ay ang employee in the private sector, hindi mo pwedeng i-compare yung rights and privileges mo as an employee in the private sector with an employee of the public sector or in the public sector. So, hindi mo pwede compare yun kasi you are not similarly situated. Kaya kung mapapansin ninyo, in the Labor Code of the Philippines, it covers employees in the private sector generally. May mga government employees pero talagang nakafocus siya sa mga private employees. Ang nakalagay lang doon is yung private employee or employee in the private sector has the right to receive 13th month pay. But kung mapansin nyo, sa government sector, yung mga employees nila, hindi lang 13th month pay yung nire-receive nila. They also receive 14th month pay or yung tinatawag nilang year-end bonus kasi meron silang mid-year, meron din silang year-end. So you now, as a private employee, you cannot invoke this principle or this equal protection clause stating or questioning bakit sa tayo or ikaw na isang private employee sa private sector, 13th month pay lang yung nare-receive mo. While yung nasa public sector, meron silang year-end bonus at mid-year bonus. So, sabi ng Equal Protection Clause, hindi ganyan yung application ng Equal Protection Clause. You should look at the situation of the persons or things. So kung hindi kayo magkatulad, nasa public sector siya, ikaw sa private sector, so ibig sabihin, hindi mag-a-apply yung Equal Protection Clause. Hindi pwedeng ipantay yung employees in the private tsaka employees in the public sector because necessarily, iba-iba yung function nila. Merong public duties, masyadong mabigat yung job ng mga employees in the public sector. Kasi they are working for the public, for public interest, di ba? But here, in private sector, economic, tsaka yung private interest lang ng owner or employer, di ba? So, hindi mo pwedeng compare yun. Hindi mag-a-apply yung Equal Protection Clause. So, paano pala i-apply yung Equal Protection Clause? Ganito. Kung ikaw ay isang employee in the private sector, tapos ako ay isa ding employee in the private sector, ako nagre-receive, parehas tayo ng employer. Ngayon, ang nangyayari is that ako binigyan ako ng 14th month pay, ikaw hindi. 13th month pay lang binigay sa'yo. So, hindi pwedeng magkaiba tayo ng rights and privileges kasi we are similarly situated and therefore, we should be treated alike. So, kung may mga batas, kunyari yung batas nagsasad na yung mga employee na galing sa Tagum City, sila lang yung makaka-receive ng 14th month pay. So meron siyang parang discrimination. Bakit naman ganun? Parehas lang naman kami na empleyado ng private sector. So kapag yung Congress nagpasa siya ng batas favoring a particular group or favoring specific people na similarly situated naman sila in a group, di ba? Sa isang group, meron siyang pinapaboran then that would be in violation of the Equal Protection Clause. Okay? So, yan yung ibig sabihin ng Equal Protection Clause. Now, this right can be invoked only against the state or against those who are acting under color of its authority. So, meaning to say, you cannot invoke this Equal Protection Clause against a private entity. Kunyari, ganito. Sinabi, pumasok ka ng mall, yung kaibigan mo, sabay kayo, pinapasok siya, ikaw hindi. So, hindi mo pwedeng invoke yon sa mall na, hello, equal protection. Hindi pwedeng ganun kasi you cannot invoke it against a private entity. Klaro dito sa ating provision na it can only be invoked against the state or against those who are acting under color of its authority. Unlike na lang kung intertwined yung government at saka yung private entity na yan. So in that case, you can argue that merong connection yung government, yung state, at saka sa private entity na ito. And so you can raise this Equal Protection Clause. Pero generally, you cannot invoke it against a private entity. So the constitutional basis of Equal Protection Clause is found in Section 1 of Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution, which provides that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the laws. And also under Section 5 of Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution, which provides that no law shall be made respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So, hindi pwedeng magpasa yung Congress ng batas na nagfe-favor ng isa lang religion kasi that would be in violation of the Equal Protection Clause by express provision of the Constitution. Ayan, ito. So, kailan ba pwedeng mag-classify? No? Kailan natin masasabi na merong valid classification? Ibig sabihin nito, pwedeng ibahin ko yung law for this particular group of people at iba din yung law ng this, on the other hands, particular group of people. So, paano pala yon? So, merong requisites yan. Gaya ng employees in the private sector versus employees in the public sector. Ano ba yung naging basis ng legislative department or ng legislature para magkaroon ng classification? Bakit hindi similarly situated yung nasa private sector at saka yung nasa public sector? So here in this slide, makikita nyo dito yung requisites for a valid classification. So ito yung ginamit ng Congress para ma-justify nila na iba talaga yung mga employees in the private sector at saka yung mga employees in the public sector. It is an established principle of constitutional law that the guarantee of the equal protection of the laws is not violated by a legislation based on reasonable classification. And the classification to be reasonable, number one, must rest on substantial distinction. So there must have been a substantial distinction between two groups. Okay? Second, must be germane to the purpose of the law. Third, must not be limited to existing conditions only. So it must also apply to future conditions. And fourth, must apply equally to all members of the same class. Okay? So ma-remember natin dito yung yung ayuda. Bakit naka-classify yun siya? Na merong yung bibigyan lang is yung mga people na within a certain bracket of income. So yung mga ganun, kasi there is a valid classification, di ba? So kaya kailangan sila na prioritize talaga sila. Kaya hindi mo pwedeng erase na you were denied equal protection of the laws. Kasi meron namang reasonable classification na unahin talaga ito sila kaysa sa'yo kasi merong substantial distinction. Now, the second limitation in the enactment of labor laws is the due process clause. So this is found under Section 1 of Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution, which provides that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So sa madaling salita, hindi pwedeng kunin yung property mo kung wala namang due process. Ano pala itong due process? This is an opportunity, no, given to the person. It's either to explain or to do something, no, out of his property before it can be taken from him, di ba? Yung mga ganyan. So hindi pwedeng like i-confiscate yung sasakyan mo kung hindi ka man nabibigyan ng opportunity na mag-explain ng side mo. So bawal yon. Okay? So you cannot be deprived of your life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So isa din ditong example is hindi ka pwedeng i-convict of a crime, no, for the commission of a crime without being heard. So kaya merong criminal cases, merong trial na nangyayari before ka talaga ma-convict. Kasi nga, yan yung tinatawag natin na due process of law. In employment naman, hindi ka pwedeng tanggalin ng iyong employer without giving you the opportunity to explain kung bakit mo na gawa yung actions, complained of, etc. So yan yung basically yung essence ng due process. The essence of due process is that no labor legislation must be enacted without giving of reasonable opportunity to the worker before he or she can be terminated from the employment. Kaya meron tayong two-notice rule, no, under the labor code na hindi ka pwedeng mag-dismiss ng employee without complying with the two-notice requirement. Ano yun? Yung first notice niyan is that you inform the employee kung ano yung mga violation niya, ano yung nakomit niya, and then give the employee the time to explain. And then after giving him the time to explain, then you will weigh now yung explanation niya, tsaka yung mga evidence niya. Then, mag-i-issue ka naman ng second notice. It's either pasayluunin mo siya, i-forgive mo siya, or i-terminate mo siya. So that is two-notice rule. So, yan yung application ng due process in termination of employment. So hindi pwedeng automatic lang yung dismissal, no? That would be in violation of this principle, no, due process clause. This assurance of due process is also applicable on the side of the employer. So hindi lang sa empleyado ito, no? This will also be available to the employer. So which means that no law shall be passed depriving the employer of its management prerogatives without due process of law. So hindi pwedeng tanggalin yung management prerogative ng employer without giving the employer the opportunity to explain or to defend itself. The rule of fair play applies to both sides in the labor case. Now let's go to the next limitation, which is the prohibition against involuntary servitude. So actually, this is quite interesting, no? Kasi I have encountered so many employees asking kung pwede ba silang mag-resign from their employment. Okay? So take note that there's a prohibition against involuntary servitude, meaning to say the employer cannot deprive you of your right, of your option or choice, no, of resigning. So hindi pwedeng sabihin ni employer na bawal ka mag-resign. So that would constitute an involuntary servitude. Meaning to say pinipilit ka niya, kinocompel ka niya na mag-render ng service. Under Section 18, Paragraph 2 of Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution provides that no involuntary servitude in any form shall exist except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. So kung na-convict ka ng crime, so saka pa na magkakaroon na pwede kang i-forced, no, na makulong or magtrabaho, etc. No? Depende sa kung ano yung penalty ng crime. Pero with respect to job, no, to employment, the employer cannot compel you to render service. No? A labor legislation cannot be passed. So bawal magpasa ng batas yung Congress providing the employee cannot resign from the employment without the consent of the employer. Pero paano, ma'am, kung you have a contract with the employer. So ang mangyayari niyan is that while hindi ka pwedeng pigilan ng employer na umalis sa kanyang business or sa kanyang establishment or sa employment, bawal hindi kanya pwedeng pigilan kasi that would constitute involuntary servitude, pwede ka naman niyang kasuhan, no, for damages because you have breached, no, your contractual obligation. Kasi nung pumirma ka ng kontrata, sabi mo, okay, hanggang 5 years ako magsiserve. Pero ngayon, 1 year pa lang, gusto mo nang mag-resign. So, sabi ng Constitution, bawal pilitin ni employer or bawal na pigilan ni employer yung employee niya na mag-resign kasi involuntary servitude nga yun. Prohibited under the Constitution. Pero, hindi bawal na kasuhan ni employer si employee for damages. Kasi nga, ang rationale behind that is that si employer, gumasta na siya ng pera para i-train ka. Okay? Naglaan siya ng panahon, ng mga training materials for you, lahat ng mga trade secrets or whatever information binigay niya sa'yo kasi nga they're expecting you to serve them for 5 years. But here you are, gusto mo nang mag-resign, so meron talaga siyang cause of action para mag-file for damages. Okay? So makakapagbayad ka ng damages, no, sa employer. So that will cost you. That will cost your freedom, no? May mga ibang employment contract na may nakalagay na talaga sa kontrata na kapag may breach ng contract, ito yung babayaran mo. So that will apply. So yun na talaga yung bayaran mo. So kung gusto mo ng freedom, edi bayaran mo kung ano yung amount na nakasaad sa kontrata. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na pumasok ka sa kontrata, you are not allowed to resign. You can resign anytime you want, but you are not free from any civil obligation such as damages. To allow the employee to resign without any valid cause within the period of the contract is against general principle of fair play and justice. So in fact, the employee may be sued for damages due to breach of contract. So yan ang mangyayari kapag nag-breach ka ng kontrata. Next, non-impairment clause. So this is provided for under Section 10, Article 3 of the 1987 Constitution, which provides that no law impairing the obligation of contract shall be passed. Case in point here is the National Development Company versus Philippine Veterans Bank, GR numbers 84132 to 33, December 10, 1990. So i-discuss natin tong case na to para ma-explain natin better kung ano itong non-impairment clause. So ito siya. So ang subject matter ng case na ito is Presidential Decree number 1717. So batas. So itong batas na ito ordered the rehabilitation of the Agrix Group of Companies. Itong Agrix Group of Companies, isa itong private company. And yung rehab niya is or will be administered by the National Development Company. So the law outlined the procedure for filing claims against the Agrix companies and created a claims committee to process these claims. So kung may mga creditors, itong Agrix Group of Companies, so mag-file lang sila ng claim nila. Okay? Doon sa claims committee. Especially relevant to this case and noted at the outset is Section 4, Paragraph 1 thereof. So ito yung nakalagay sa Section 4 ng Presidential Decree number 1717. Providing that all mortgages and other liens presently attaching to any of the assets of the dissolved corporations are hereby extinguished. So, ibig sabihin, itong Presidential Decree number 1717, nag-provide siya ng mandate na lahat daw ng utang or mortgage na mga na-attach sa mga properties ng Agrix Group of Companies, mawawala daw yung lahat. So kaya nag-file ng case itong si Philippine Veterans Bank against the Agrix Group of Companies and the National Development Company. Kasi si Philippine Veterans Bank, meron siyang money na isisingil from Agrix. At nang dahil dito sa provision na lahat daw ng mortgage sa Kalyen na naka-attach sa assets ng Agrix are extinguished, nagalit si Philippine Veterans Bank. Kasi paano naman makukolekta ngayon? May utang sa amin si Agrix Group of Companies. So the factual antecedent is that merong existing mortgage contract. Alam niyo yung mortgage, yung kapag nag-utang ka, tapos yung collateral mo is lupa. So ang tawag sa collateral agreement niyan is mortgage contract. So kapag hindi makabayad siya ng utang niya, i-foreclose mo yung lupa. Magiging ibibenta mo yan, tsaka kung ano yung proceeds, yun yung ibabayad sa utang. Okay, yan yung mortgage contract. So eto siya, meron daw mortgage contract between Agrix Marketing Incorporated or Agrix and the Philippine Veterans Bank over 3 parcels of land situated in Los Baños, Laguna. So, ngayon, nang dahil dito sa Section 4, Paragraph 1 ng PD number 1717, na-extinguish daw itong mortgage contract. So, nagalit si Philippine Veterans Bank. So, paano kami makasingil ngayon? So, ano ang nangyari dito? Actually, ang ginawa ng trial court dito is that nanalo dito si Philippine Veterans Bank. Kasi ang reason ng trial court is that there is a violation of the non-impairment clause in the Constitution. Kasi yung batas na yan, yung PD 1717, nag-interfere siya sa contractual relations between Agri Marketing Incorporated and Philippine Veterans Bank. Kasi di ba meron silang mortgage contract between each other. At nang dahil sa law na yan, na-extinguish yung mortgage contract. So merong unlawful interference in the private contractual relation. Kaya kini-question ngayon ang batas na yan. So initially, yung sabi ng trial court, there is a violation of the law or the Constitution which provides that no law impairing the obligation of contract shall be passed. Okay? Ayan. So kung gusto nyong basahin itong ruling ng Supreme Court, maganda ito. So you can read the ruling. Pero in a nutshell, yun talaga yung ruling ng Supreme Court here, no, with respect to non-impairment clause. Na yung batas na yon na pinasa na PD 1717 is a violation of the no impairment clause. So hindi pwedeng magpasa yung Congress na maapektuhan yung mga existing contractual relations. So dapat, kung ano yung law na pinasa ngayon, ang ma-affect lang yan is yung mga subsequent contracts. Okay? Ayan. So last limitation is the requirement of publication. So ibig sabihin lang nito is that you cannot pass a labor legislation without it being published, no? So dapat i-publish mo yan. So under Article 2 of the New Civil Code provides that laws shall take effect after 15 days following the completion of their publication in the official gazette unless it is otherwise provided. So you cannot implement a labor law which was not published. So hindi mo pwedeng i-impose yan. So dapat i-publish mo yan. And saan mo i-publish? In a newspaper of general circulation. So for example, kung ang law na yan is of national concern, meaning lahat ng citizen ng Pilipinas yung apektado ng batas na yan, so dapat yung newspaper na kung saan mo i-publish yung law na yan, dapat available siya sa buong bansa. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng newspaper of general circulation. Pero kung local naman yung application ng batas, pwedeng yung newspaper lang ng local na yan. Kasi hindi naman kailangan na yung national talaga na newspaper kung hindi naman talaga sila kasali or intended sa batas na yan. Okay? So, newspaper of general circulation in the locality, no, where it is applicable. Pwedeng ganun. And once the application is done, The principle of ignorance of the law excuses no one will apply. So hindi ka pwedeng magsabi na hindi ko naman nabasa yung nasa newspaper kasi wala na, hindi na kami nagbabasa ng newspaper ngayon, so hindi pwede yun. Kahit na hindi mo nabasa yung batas na yan sa newspaper, still it will apply to you because there is a presumption na nabasa mo yan under the law. So aside from labor laws, pati yung IRR, yung implementing rules and regulations ng batas na yan, kailangan nakapublish din. Okay? So, that ends our discussion for limitations in the enactment of labor laws. So if you have questions, feel free to comment down below and we will take time to answer them. So see you next video. Goodbye.